And now you're looking at your property map and you're like, how do I put all these jigsaw pieces together to fit one nice landscape design image? We're gonna start to move in and start to put all of these pieces together. Welcome back to Garden Theory. Today we're going to jump right back into our landscape design series. We're going to be talking about how you, as a homeowner with no prior experience, can create a base map for your landscape, and we're going to talk about how you can explore different types of landscape design styles in this video. I'm going to walk you through the process on how you can take all those great ideas that you have in your head, put them into a plan, and then eventually into action. And I hope that you can plant your boots on that subscribe button to join us in this journey as I help you to create your own DIY landscape design. So this is where we ended off in our last episode. For those of you who didn't watch, I want to quickly recap before moving on. But essentially what we've done at this point is we have measured the exterior walls of our home, any pre-existing features such as driveways, sidewalks, pools, as well as any existing landscape features that we're going to be keeping, like any mature trees of that sort. For this example, we're not going to overcomplicate it. We just have the house and the driveway on this site. The rest of it's completely blank. And if you want to learn more about how to do that, as well as how to do a family needs analysis and a site survey, I recommend you go watch our previous video. I'll have it linked right up here in the corner. And so go watch that and then come back here and we're going to dive right into it. And so for this video, we're going to be using some trace paper. And once you have your base map inked out and finalized, like how I have it here, we're not going to draw on this actual paper quite yet. We're going to slow down a little bit because now we're going to figure out how are we going to put all these jigsaw pieces of our ideas together onto this piece of paper. And so we're going to use trace paper to do that. Alright, so here is our trace paper. Might be a little hard to see on the camera, but this is it right here. And you lay it across the top so you can see through it. And this is where we're going to start going into our brainstorm session. So at this point, we want to make sure we're grabbing our family needs analysis that we wrote down from the previous episode. And we're going to bring that over onto this trace paper. Needs of this episode, I've written them down. This is a hypothetical family needs analysis. So that's quite a long list of ideas. And so sometimes, if say you have something similar where you have a whole bunch of different ideas, and now you're looking at your property map and you're like, how do I put all these jigsaw pieces together to fit one nice landscape design? So I'm going to walk through you today and I'm going to show you those steps. Starting off with functional diagram. So what we do in our functional diagram is we're going to start to piece together all the things that we want. And you can be pretty rough with this. Some of the things we can do is we know there's going to be traffic out of the back as well into the front. So we can draw some arrows there, as well as from the driveway. They could go either way from the driveway. So those are our main access points, and that's something you want to consider, is how are we going to reach everything in the property. We also have to consider that this is a street down here. So there's going to be noise and possibly traffic coming in the front here. So that's something to consider. So the backyard might be a little bit more private and quiet. So our sunny side is going to be the south and the west here. That's going to be our most sun. It's probably going to be shady up in this corner, most likely from the house. So that's something to consider. So we're trying to remember all of our lighting issues. Sometimes you can have hilly terrain. For the purposes of this video, we're just going to assume everything's fairly level. So no terrain issues. And then typically for irrigation, there's usually city main in the front. So this is where our water is going to be hooked into. So that's something to consider as well, and how we're going to install irrigation lines. So this is the point where we're just kind of brainstorming on this trace paper. We're trying to remember where everything goes. So at this stage, while we're doing our functional diagrams, essentially what we want to do is we want to start just kind of roughly putting our areas in. We're just going to make rough circles. We'll say we want a patio in the back over there. You mentioned they wanted a water feature of some kind. So we can maybe have it up in this corner. So the side that they're going to have the best sun will be on this side. So as far as the side yard, the only thing I can think of is mainly planter areas in the back here. They did want a reading nook, so I'm almost thinking about doing it, although I'm not too sure. I'm just brainstorming. So maybe we'll do a reading nook here. And then we have this front area. I almost want to do a bit of lawn right here. Probably lawn across the front. And then they did want a larger section of lawn, kind of filling in this space, because we have a nice open space, and then we can use some of this for planters. Again, more plants along this. That's where most of our sun is, so I think that'll help it quite a bit. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're doing just rough areas. I have another example. This is from a document I had from while I was a student, but you can do it in Sharpie to make it a bit more clearer. So again, we're just trying to mark out all of our areas. I'm showing you this one just because I think this one's a bit easier to see for y'all. But again, we're just putting stuff that we like, different areas where we maybe want to put in any trees, water feature, plants. We're just trying to get rough concepts out until we find something that we think is going to work well. These aren't our defined areas quite yet, but this is just roughly where we want things to lay out. And this is going to help us when we move on to the next step, which is we're going to talk about different form compositions and how we can go from this idea functional diagram page into concepts, where it's going to be a lot more solid, set in stone, where we want things. But my recommendation is that we're going to make 3 different form compositions of ideas that we like, and then between the 3, we're going to figure out which one's going to work out the best for us. At this stage, once we start to have a pretty good idea of how we want to do it, we're going to start to move in and start to put all of these pieces together. Guys, so I'll walk through what I have drawn out so far. So essentially, going back to our family needs analysis, so I essentially have decided to make 2 different lawn areas. So I have one large lawn area in the front right here, and then another one in the back. And then we have a patio right here with a water feature. I'm not quite sure how I want to connect the garden to the patio quite yet. I'm thinking about doing some kind of, I don't know what you call it, one of those big hoops that people do with like blackberries or raspberries or something like that. I'm thinking about doing something cool like that, or maybe even flowers into the garden space. So we have the patio that goes into the garden space. We have a little, I think I'm going to make this a naturalistic path, but I have a pathway that goes to a little reading nook with a bench that I'll have surrounded by some shrubs and flowers. And then the front, kind of a small front entry area with the sidewalk that goes across back to the side lawn, and then down to the road. Currently, as far as our fruit trees, I'm thinking about putting them along this edge, and possibly around here as well. So that's kind of what I'm currently thinking about. I might just incorporate them into the landscape instead of having a like an orchard per se. So that's kind of my thoughts for now. And so hopefully you're having a lot of fun tagging along with me. Again, a lot of this stage is just brainstorming. Once you have a form composition that you really like, I would start sketching it out on your base map, and we're going to try to figure out how it's going to work out together. And again, you can experiment. I recommend going pretty light on the pencils so you can erase things as needed. And if you really need to, I'd probably make a few copies of your base map before you start going heavy on it. And if you would like to learn more about native plants when it comes to plant selection, I've done multiple videos covering native plants. I'll have one linked right at the end of this clip. If you want to click this video, it talks all about native plants. I also have a whole playlist dedicated to native plants I'd recommend that you watch as well. And thank you so much for watching here at Garden Theory today.